Welcome to the webinar, Billo and Shopify Sellers. Happy to see so many of you turning up today. I'm Imantas, event manager here at Billo, and I'll be leading this Billo Seller Insights event together with our superstar lineup for today. So we have Aistis Matulaitis, co-founder and CEO at Kandy. We have Zettler, digital marketing and e-commerce consultant at Zettler Digital. We have Benzaquen, who's going to be joining us really quickly, who's the founder at Duradry, the angel investor. And we have Claudiu Cioba, CEO at VideoWise. With that said, we'll have 4 short presentations today and a Q&A session right after. And anything you want to hear more on, just put that into the Q&A box on your right-hand side. First on our stage is Zettler, who will tell us all about what most Shopify brands can do on their own. So Ben, could you please unveil the secret to us?
Okay, thank you very much to the Billo team for having me for this presentation. I really appreciate you guys organizing this. It's always great to connect with, fellow merchants. I actually used to be a Shopify merchant myself prior to moving over onto the service end of things. And so it's exciting to be here today. What we're talking about, most e-com brands can't do this on their own. Can you? And the importance of owned marketing, email, and SMS is what we'll be concentrating on today. First, I know we only have a little bit of time here, only about 10 minutes before we get on to the other presentations. But I do want to get into a little bit about my experience just to clue you all into what perspective I'm coming to with all of this. So my name is Zettler. I'm a digital marketing and e-commerce consultant. My areas of focus are specifically around the optimization of websites. On the Shopify end, I'm sort of heavily ingrained in the partner program there. I'll talk about that in a minute. Customer acquisition, so Facebook, Instagram advertising. I'm a Facebook business partner, Google Ads, Pinterest Ads, TikTok, etc. And retention, which is what we'll talk about today, specifically with email and SMS. I've worked with a bunch of different brands on Shopify. This is a quick little snapshot of some of the folks that I'm fortunate enough to count as clients. I say that I used to be a fellow merchant. I started a company of my own on Shopify. It was a company called Brooktight Sunglasses 8 years ago. So I kind of bring to this, I think, a little bit of a different perspective maybe than some other service providers. It was store number 41,000 or so on Shopify. I've been a partner since 2014, just shortly after starting that business, and expert since 2017. I'm also part of the Shopify Plus Consulting Partners program. I was fortunate actually to sell that business 3 years ago. It was acquired in 2018, and that's very shortly after that is when I kind of jumped in full time to things on the services end. I also spent 5.5 years at a company called Steiner Sports. Steiner, if you're not aware, was the largest autographed sports memorabilia company of its kind in the world. I started there first as a social media manager and eventually moving on to overseeing all aspects of e-commerce and digital marketing for the company. Quick little sidebar, some fun little photos here from some of my time there. Which you guys might recognize some of the people in there, which is cool. But why am I here? The real focus, email and text marketing, really core foundational pieces to any e-commerce strategy are getting your own marketing buttoned up. Now, a little overview about what we'll talk about. My recommended platform, which is Klaviyo. This is not a commercial for Klaviyo. Really, any of the recommendations that I make are applicable across any platform, though there are some certain aspects of Klaviyo that I do like over other platforms, and I'll get into that. As I said, best practices that will be applicable to all. Email and text marketing should make up about 20 to 30% of your total online revenue at scale, of course, and it's going to vary based on business type and product type, but certainly that's sort of a goal where you should be. iOS 14.5 has certainly shined a light on the importance of own marketing and having zero and first-party data. Certainly iOS 14.5 has not completely killed ads, and I know Jack will get into that a little bit for his presentation. But iOS 14.5 though did change online advertising forever. Again, hasn't killed performance, but it's re-emphasized the importance of owned marketing and having users that you're funneling in from various resources like advertising to getting users to opt in, supply certain information that you can then use for segmentation. people always ask, is email marketing dead? It's been around for so long. And I get so many emails that I never answer any, and really it's not dead. It's really all about segmentation and relevance is the most key thing. More details to come there, and we'll talk about that. Now, also when we talk about platforms like a Klaviyo, and if I reference email marketing, email, SMS really are almost in ways interchangeable terms, because SMS is now a core marketing channel. Any e-commerce brand should have some element of SMS ingrained in what they're doing. If handled properly, super high engagement rates there, and a very nice supplement to what may be sent out on an email basis. So Klaviyo is a recommended tool. I've used every platform under the sun. Klaviyo is by far the one that I suggest to users most often, notably for a few reasons. One, from a cost perspective, it's going to be on par with most other platforms that are kind of in its realm, but it can do what I would call like enterprise level functions, but you're not spending $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month like what some other platforms may ultimately charge you. And it has an excellent out-of-the-box integration with Shopify. They essentially built it as Shopify first, though certainly it does integrate with other platforms as well. But to be able to do things like segmenting users and adding conditional splits to flows based on purchase data, what product somebody bought, what their average order value is, how many times they've purchased a particular product, if they're a subscriber for a monthly box, or they're an inactive subscriber, what products have they looked at, and literally hundreds of other core metrics. They also have really strong integrations with other third-party tools. So Gorgias, for example, just within the last few days, they released their SMS-specific integration with Gorgias, but also just on the email side. Facebook ads and creating audiences tied to segments or lists that you'll have in Klaviyo is, I think one of the more highly underutilized features, but so impactful, so that you can run things like retargeting for users that have been in your list for 6 months but haven't made a purchase but have expressed some level of interest that you want to send a particular ad to. Narrowing the focus to users as specific as that is something that you can do via that integration. And inbuilt SMS, that's a huge value to having SMS and email living in one platform. Obviously, there are other SMS specific platforms that are out there, but the things that you get from there are certainly cost savings with how Klaviyo has structured the cost of SMS. But really more importantly, streamlining communications and user data in one place so that you can do things like, let's say, serving an abandoned cart flow where 1 hour after somebody abandons, they send an email, and then 30 minutes later, if they haven't purchased, sending them a follow-up SMS after that. So I want to take everybody through, on the next slide here, just some... a little bit of a walkthrough of what like the core foundational best practice things that you need to do right now if you're not doing email marketing, or if, let's say, you have an email list but you don't have automations in place and you're not sure of perhaps how best to acquire users. So that's what I'll get into here. So first, somebody comes to your site, how do you get them to sign up to the list? Opt-in modal recommendation. So this is a screenshot from a client of mine, ProMix Nutrition. This is a pop-up that users will receive on the site. For users that are not in the list, they will get a prompt here for $10 off their first purchase of $50 or more. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward. Everybody knows pop-ups, right? So we're here asking for their email address, then actually also their Instagram handle. We have another tool called Gatsby that's integrated. Gatsby, which can track Instagram user data and then push that into Klaviyo so that we can serve automated flows based on, let's say, users over 1,000 followers that we want to send a particular message to, give an incentive to share content on social, and then Gatsby can actually track the mention of your brand handle by one of those users. So that was a quick sidebar, but anyway, so getting users to enter in their email most commonly, like within this first step. Klaviyo actually now has a multi-step sign-up form tool so that you can have more than just like simple pop-up. You can actually, after someone has clicked on that initial subscribe, then get served a second page essentially. Do you want this texted to you? Enter in their phone number, and then they can click send, and then yes, great. Now they're opted into SMS as well. So that's really the first piece. The thing that's going to get people to opt in more often than not is presenting a particular offer to users. You're going to have far higher form submit rates if ultimately you are offering an incentive in order for them to do so. Once users have opted into the list, then we jump into automated flows. And the first, of course, being that welcome flow. So how you're actually delivering that incentive. I'm a big fan of delivering that incentive within the body of a welcome flow, within an email, as opposed to just in the last page of a pop-up or like that last step. Because you want to take advantage of the likelihood that users are going to open that message from a deliverability perspective. It's very important that you maintain high open and click rates on both your flow and your campaign-oriented messages. So serve that discount in your welcome flow. Consider splitting the delivery of those messages to users that have not purchased before, so that users that just purchased and then signed up for the list via checkout don't actually just then receive another discount right away. Send at least 2 follow-up messages over the course of 7 days to users that have not purchased before. And then some other flow recommendations too, certainly an abandoned cart flow. Make sure that you're testing time delay after abandon. Serve at least 3 messages over a 3 or 4 day period. Certainly implement on a more advanced level more conditional splits based on the cart value, based on purchase history of the customer, based on really any other metrics that are available to you in Klaviyo. Post-purchase is a big one that I'm a really big fan of, offering a limited time only offer with a fixed amount off a future purchase within 1 or 2 days after someone has ordered. So something like, thanks for your order, you've earned $10 off your next purchase of 50 or more, expires in 2 weeks. And then browse abandonment. Really all you need is just one simple line of code that's just embedded on your product page in your Shopify site. And that will enable Klaviyo to read what products users are looking at, as opposed to just adding to cart and clicking checkout with, so that users that you already have their email info and they're cookied by Facebook, by Facebook, by Klaviyo. Then you can track what products they're looking at, and then serve essentially a browse abandonment similar to abandoned cart type of email, prompting users to come back and purchase. A lot in just a couple of minutes, but last topic here that I have is segmentation recommendations. Who you're actually emailing to your standard campaign-oriented messages. So you, like I said before, I alluded to it. You only want to maintain high deliverability. So you really only want to send campaign emails to users that have subscribed recently or have engaged recently on some level. So some examples that I have here for you: if they've opened at least once in the last 30 days, if they've placed an order in the last at least 3 orders in the last year, if they've clicked 5 times in the last 60 days, if they've subscribed in the last 14 days. I mean, there's thousands of different combinations. You have to find what's ultimately right for you. There's not any hard set rule on exact parameters of targeting, but you want to find a balance between users that have taken certain actions and engagement relative to just also then the size of the list and what their likely engagement rates are going to be based on what you've done in the past. You always want to keep open rates above like a 20 to 25% sort of range, and click rates 2.5 to 5%. 5% is a little bit high, but good place to be. And that will help the Googles, the Yahoos, the Outlooks of the world say, hey, when you do send an email to a wider list of users, maybe users that are lesser engaged, when you have that history built up of high open rates, high click rates, and I'm oversimplifying the process, but when you do, then the Googles, Yahoos, Outlooks of the world say, hey, we're going to deliver this message to a user's inbox as opposed to spam. So, again, a lot that we packed in here to 10 minutes. Again, there's sort of a lot that we can go through. So in the Q&A, certainly I'm sure there's going to be some questions that you guys might have. But for now, I will turn it over to the rest of the presenters and what everybody's got to talk about today. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Ben. Great points on email and SMS marketing. So if anyone has any questions, that's your time to put those into the chat, and we'll be looking at those at the end of our presentations. And right now, Jack, could we just turn to iOS 14.0 and talk about how it's killing some of Shopify brands that you have seen, and how are the top brands are staying ahead?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna try to do this without my camera on because my internet is a little bit choppy today, if you don't mind. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you perfectly. Yeah.
Awesome. By the way, I don't know if everyone knows, but they're telling me that we have around 350 people watching live. So that's really crazy. Congrats to the Billo team. But anyway, so most of you guys have had this issue at least for a few months now. And the first thing to know is that you're not alone. Everyone in e-commerce or direct to consumer, any way you want to call it, is suffering through this. So that's the first thing, to know that you're not alone. So what happened in a nutshell? Apple released privacy update with its 14.5 version of iOS, and it created two different very big issues. The first one is that Facebook and Pinterest and Snapchat and TikTok, all of the channels lost attribution data. So basically, they do not know when an ad impression or an ad click becomes a conversion. Okay? That's the first big problem. And the second big problem is that because of this loss of attribution, now the algorithms do not know who to target to increase the conversions, because usually you create goals, conversion goals, right? And this became so important, or so radically disruptive for even Facebook, that when you check your conversions in your ad manager, and you can do this yourself and you can check, you'll see that you have this number 2 next to the number. And if you check down here, it basically says that all these numbers are based on modeling. These are not real numbers. These are the numbers that Facebook thinks are real conversions. I just want to confirm that you are hearing me okay.
Yes, can seem to hear you perfectly fine. I'm hoping that everyone else is having the same thing. Yeah.
Awesome. If everything, just let me know. Okay. So the first thing that people are doing is testing more creative. We have seen that that people are getting exhausted of creative between 2 to 3 weeks after the launch of that specific creative. So my recommendation to all of you is to test at least 5 to 10 new different pieces every 3 weeks. This is the minimum. So here, and this is why we have such a good relationship with the Billo team, is because we have been using Billo to fill that pipeline of new creative all the time. Also, please don't be shy to shoot stuff at home. People honestly don't care, and you just have to test it. If it converts, who cares if it doesn't look professional enough, right? You shouldn't be concerned about that. The second thing is that although Facebook was really affected, Google wasn't as affected. And why is that? Because when you search for something, you're showing intent of buying that thing, or maybe not of buying it, but at least you're maybe at the top of the funnel. You're investigating, you're making research about that thing that you want to know more about, right? And maybe ultimately you end up buying. So I would encourage you to double down on Google. If you're an e-commerce brand, specifically, I would do shopping. Also test non-brand and test YouTube. YouTube is a little bit more difficult because of the loss of attribution data, but it's showing good results. Number 3, TikTok. It sounds a little bit cliche because everyone is saying TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. So everyone is on TikTok. But what I like about TikTok is that the CPMs are maybe $4 to $5 compared to Facebook, that's probably like in the teens. So that's the great thing about TikTok. what's really important, and that's why I have this kind of screenshot of the Billo's flow when you're creating a campaign, is for the videos to be very native to TikTok. So ideally, you create some references, or you find references, and when you create a campaign on Billo, you show the creators, okay, more or less, this is what I want. Also, add stickers, because some people watch the videos on mute. That's a known thing. So yeah, TikTok. Number 4, I was talking about YouTube before, but as a paid media. Here, it's more about organic. So people are searching on Google or on Bing, but also on YouTube. People, are looking, to learn how to do stuff, or reviews, or comparison between products. So it's a very good idea to reach out to people in your industry and basically, either pay them or give them a free product to review a product, and make them add the non-branded and sometimes even brand keywords. So your brand surfaces organically on YouTube's search results. 5th, you have to test stuff on your site. It's not enough to test new creative. It's not enough to test new copy on the ads. You need to test stuff on your site, because a bad conversion rate is making you waste money, right? So the minimum thing that you should do, the bare minimum, is to learn how to use Google Optimize, the redirect test. This one that I have selected here. If you go to YouTube, you can find many videos on how to use it. It's super simple. And then to build these landing pages that you're going to test, you can use builder.io if you're on Shopify. You can also use Unbounce. Both are, very easy to use. What you see is what you get, kind of page builders. And then there are many apps for upselling, cross-selling, et cetera, et cetera. And to basically repeat what the importance of email that my co-presenter was telling you about, you should be gathering emails, and you should have active flows. Lastly, you need to, if you're spending a decent amount of money, you need to find, or you need to get one of these 2 apps. I'm sure that there are others, but these are the ones that I've used. I highly recommend them. They're a little bit pricey, but they create attribution models with machine learning, and they'll help you know which channel is performing better, so you can actually scale what's performing. Because what the platforms are telling you, what Facebook is telling you that the conversion rate is, or the CAC, or the CPA, however you want to call it, is not real. So you need this type of solutions if you're spending a decent amount, because they'll pay for themselves. Okay? And that's what I have for you today. Open for questions at the end.
Okay, I'm hoping that it's going to work out fine. And yeah, so we'll just start with...
Okay, great. So today I will be without slides, but I actually have some notes, and I have a pretty funny story to tell. It's a story on how we actually got from 0 in revenue, in monthly revenue, to 1.3 mil monthly revenue in just 9 months. Of course, it's a bold statement. It's like how in 9 months we got from basically 0 to doing more than 1 mil. Maybe it even sounds like a scam for some of you, but I will just give you a quick storyline on how we got here, and I'll just outline the main points that brought us here. So the story began in January 1st this year. We started working with this client, onboarded as usual, nothing too crazy, nothing too specific. The product itself was in toys niche. They were selling in US. Target audience actually was pretty old, maybe even from 55 to 65 plus years old. And we just started as usual, actually. Like, we just started creating some content. We optimized our website, and we're like doing some Facebook ads, Google ads, email, and all that. But after all those months, today I'll just outline the four most important ones, actually, that brought us here. And the first one was product. And these days, people still use that cliche of like, if you are a good marketer, you can sell anything, but it's wrong. It's like you still have um, something behind it, not only marketing itself. So the good product that we actually had good margins in place, so that we can spend money on Facebook. And as an example, if you have margins that are just like too low, you won't be able to pay Facebook to acquire new customers. So number one, margins. Then repeatable purchase aspect. So it's pretty important because these days, as you know, Facebook is becoming more expensive than ever. And actually, you can have right margin, you can sell for one time, but if your product doesn't have some kind of a second, third, fourth purchase aspect, then you won't be profitable in the long term, because at some point you will just lose that momentum of testing, of optimizing, and all that. Then it should have some kind of a aspect of problem solving or high emotional buy factor. So either it's like solving some kind of problem, or it just has that it just brings that high emotions for people that are just seeing that ad. Of course, it should be visually attractive and overall easy to explain through in a short period of time. And overall, to summarize that point of the product, it should be just sellable on social media. Like, if you are selling a product that is just too hard to sell for Facebook, then it just makes no sense. The second point that I had when scaling that brand was funnel. And funnel actually is becoming more and more important these days, even if you have like the physical product, because funnels back in the day, they were just like more for digital products, for courses, and all that. But as CPMs are becoming higher and higher, it's just becoming harder to sell in the first product page, homepage, wherever you're landing, and you just need a proper funnel in place. So the formula that we came up with was educate, show few more times through remarketing, and then have the right proper offer and put that in front of their eyes at the right time. So when you have those three things, you are not like shouting at them like right from your first start, and you're not selling right from your first start. You just have that customer journey. Of course, for some products it can be longer. For some of the products it can be shorter. But basically, it's a no-brainer. Once you have the funnel in place, make sure you A/B test, and once you have some results, you optimize. Because at the end of the day, if you are landing people on your website, you just have that traffic in place. Why not to put some different aspects on that website? Why not to throw A and B at the same time? And the best performance we actually had, the two funnels that led us to scale. The first one was landing people from the ad to one-page lander, which is more or less like a product page, then checkout, and then thank you page with some upsells, and then goes upsell email flow. So you're just sending the sequence of emails, trying to get some more in terms of AOV. And the second one was from the ad to pre-sell, which can be like advertorial, quiz, something that educates them. Then from that lander, you go to one-page lander / product page. Then goes thank you page with upsell, and then email sequence. So that was our best performers in terms of funnel. And then the third point that led us to scale was creative. And in terms of creative, the one point to understand, actually, especially these days, is that you just need to test, and test. Just no way around it. Once you learn from those testing campaigns, you optimize. But after all, it's not only about testing, it's also about understanding your customer avatar, their language, overall market that you are in, competitors that are selling something similar, that are using similar angles and reaching the same audience, more or less. In other words, just before creating that content, make sure you do your own customer competitive standing data research. Not for a one time, because like all those areas in overall business, like if you do your thing one time, won't be as effective as like doing that over and over again in a longer period of time. So just make sure you don't sleep on research. Make sure you're always on top of everything, because you are the only person that should know every aspect of your customer market and all those parts I just mentioned. And the best performance we actually had from 4 different angles in terms of creative. So the first one was UGC content. That's where Billo comes. Second one we had was spokesperson. So it's like more or less UGC, but higher quality. And then we had a POV. So POV, it can be like unboxing. It can be just simply using the product and filming the iPhone or a GoPro from her standpoint. And the first one was voiceovers. So you're just showing content, and on top of that, you put a voiceover. And the last point is media buying. And our main traffic source was Facebook. And in terms of technical aspects of Facebook, I just have a few points outlined, and I'll just quickly walk you through. So before actually I walk through, I just want to make it clear that every ad account is different. And like for some of the ad accounts, that might not work. For some of you, you can just quickly test and see that it just changed the game for you. So again, every ad account is different, but anyways, I'll just quickly walk you through. So at the first start, we start running Facebook with CBO campaigns. And CBO was performing pretty well, but at some point, we just tested, as always, ABOs. And the ABOs were with multiple ad sets, targeting multiple different audiences, mainly interests, because of iOS updates. And it became our new winner of overall how we launch our ads. Of course, not all of our campaigns were ABO, but I would say 80% of the campaigns were ABO. Then the second point, excluding purchase instead of website visitors. So basically, like these days, Facebook is becoming more like a platform to reach a broad audience. And overall, when you have a smaller budget, when you're just starting out, I highly suggest just to not overcomplicate things and just start as broad as possible. So at that point, when we were just spending like to 1 or maybe up to 2K daily on Facebook, we were just like, we had like one campaign. We excluded purchases only, and we like had middle and bottom of the funnel campaign that was just like additional one. But at the end of the day, we were just like reaching people, all the visitors, all the ad cards, checkouts through our top of the funnel campaigns, and that just led us to optimize and overall get out of learning stage quicker. So, and once we have that learning stage, once we get out of it, we can start excluding different audiences. We can play with the budget and keep going on. And then the last point was overall simplifying the ad account. So keeping the low amount of campaigns active, keeping the low amount of ad sets. If you are testing, let's say 10 ads, you don't need like 10 different ad sets. You can have like one and put like 10 ads in one ad set. So just like how it works. And to summarize what I just covered, the first point was having the right product in place, all the margins and all that. Then understanding the target audience, understanding of target audience, their desires, their language, pain points, objections, and all that stuff. Third point was do not sell straight away. Make sure you have a funnel. You educate, you warm them up, and put the right offer in the right place at the right time. And yeah, and then the fourth point, sorry, was creative based on target audience, not on your own opinion. Basically, everything based on that. And one more point was keep it simple with media buying, so don't overcomplicate things. And the last one of overall presentation, just test, then optimize. Keep learning from those in overall every part of what we just covered. Can be like funnel, it can be creative, it can be media buying. Just make sure you're testing, optimizing, and learning along the way. So that was it from my side. I'll make sure I answer all the questions you had on the chat at the end of this presentation. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aistis. That was amazing. I feel like that was the most questions we ever get. We've got through one short presentation. And yeah, Claudiu, so nice to have you here as well. And I feel like we should just talk about what the chat wanted us to talk about, and it's the shoppable videos. It's how Billo can be like implemented into the creatives and all of that. So yeah, could we just jump right into it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Imantas, for having me and for the Billo team for having us. Nice to see so many people in the chat and so interactive. I'm Claudiu. I'm the founder of VideoWise. And today I'll be talking how shoppable videos, which is a very new concept, still fairly new concept in Shopify and e-commerce, can unlock additional revenue. So basically, why use video on your store? From Google's research, this is on thinkgoogle.com. I think it was posted last year in 2020. More than 50% of shoppers leave the product page to perform their own research elsewhere. Basically, they go to YouTube to search for your product, or they start searching on Google. And once people leave your product page, they leave your website, the conversion rate drops significantly. And then you definitely don't want people to leave that page. You want to keep them on the page for as much as possible. I'm not going to go into super detail about the benefits of using video on your Shopify store. I think they're pretty obvious. The team at Billo is doing an amazing job of explaining those videos. of explaining the benefits of using UGC, of using influencer generated content. But basically, it's, you need to increase your social proof. Product presentation matters a lot. It'll definitely help you to convert more. It'll help you boost SEO, increase engagement, and overall offer a better shopping experience. Now, everyone already might have video content, and usually the life cycle of this video content looks pretty similar to this. You're producing it, you're distributing it, and you're having some traction, and you're bringing people into your store from video content, from TikTok, from Instagram, from your ads. And the usage of that video content pretty much stops there. You stop using it. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Let's create some new video content. And you're just investing in it, and creating new video content is great, but you could actually use the video content you already have as well. How can you use this? Well, you can use this by adding it on your website. Not just in any way, but in a page speed friendly way. So it doesn't affect your page speed, in a way that it looks great and it makes sense for your brand. So it's fully customizable to match your brand, and also making that video content shoppable. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on how you can do that. You can reach me for that. But here's how to, just some tips on how to properly do it. So, and these are some practical tips, and then I will show you about the part of the revenue. But because a lot of e-commerce owners, they don't know how to properly use videos. They don't have the right tools to embed videos on their website in a good experience way. So this is from Fenty Beauty, Rihanna's brand. I love her brand. I think it's an amazing brand. Amazing store. They invest heavily in video content, but when it actually comes to showing and displaying the video content on their website, they just use that tiny pop-up. And we all know that most visitors come from mobile, and you want your shoppers to have an amazing user experience, something similar to what they're already used to on TikTok, on Instagram. Yeah, this is not that. So what we highly recommend doing is having a full screen video experience, and highly recommend using vertical video. As the presenters prior to me said, talked about the vertical videos of TikTok and of Instagram, which are just super high conversion right now. Another quick tip about the video is also to avoid using, I've already covered this about the portrait and the landscape, but do not redirect people to other websites. So from your video. So there's another common pattern that we're seeing, which is you're clicking, to watch the video, and then all of a sudden a new tab is opening and taking your users to YouTube. Don't do this. People need to stay on your website. The longer they stay on your site, the higher the conversion rate. What we recommend, just open the video experience on your store, full screen, make them watch that video on your store, not on a different website such as YouTube that has, might have your competitor videos who are ranking higher than you, or might have different ads. Another thing that is super important in terms of engagement are the thumbnails of the video. A lot of people just use the default thumbnail of the video, or they use some sort of a default image. Please don't do that. That's just not going to lead to clicks. And once you have a shopper on your page, you definitely want that shopper to get the most out of your page. So you want them to engage with your content. What we recommend, and we've tested this on over 20 million shoppers over the summer, is use amazing thumbnails that always show a face, show an emotion, show the product in a great perspective, and try to use text on top of those thumbnails. So the video is important, but the thumbnail is the one that drives the engagement before the video. So you need to get the thumbnail right before you actually get to the video. So, why use shoppable videos? Because my presentation, is called, how shoppable videos can unlock additional revenue about this. So why use shoppable videos? I'm going to give you some averages that we've tested over the summer. So for every 250,000 visitors, so 250K, we've received about 30K videos watched, about close to 2 videos per shopper on these sites. We've added more than 2,000 hours of session time. The watch time was about a little over 3 minutes. And for every 250,000 visitors, you could generate over 20,000, in between $20,000 and $30,000 in revenue at a 16% conversion rate. That is right. What we've noticed, that conversion rate is super, super important, is that once people watch video, they're more likely to convert. So video shoppers actually convert 10 times more than regular shoppers. And it sort of makes sense. You watch a commercial, so you're more likely to buy that product. I also have some case studies that that I'll actually tell you why you should be producing video with companies such as Billo, why you should be investing in UGC and IGC, and why you should put that video on your site, not just on your social media profile, but on your site. So in terms of best places to actually put video on your site, a very good high conversion place is underneath the add to cart button. And this is from a test. This is actually a shop, which is one of our customers. And I think these stats came from I think October, something like that, in 30 days. They were selling for all of the video shoppers, people that were watching video, those people purchased at a 15% conversion rate. This video generated and added $14,000 in 30 days. They had more than 2,000 videos watched at an average of 1 minute and 47 seconds. Pretty cool, right? In just a month. Then another good place is above your text reviews areas. Everyone has text reviews. You have photo reviews. I mean, it's great. You have 100 text reviews, 5-star, great. But you have pagination on those reviews, and nobody's actually going to read your 100 reviews. So I don't think that those text reviews are as engaging as if, when you had like your first 10, your first 20, people just stop reading those. They're just going to read the first few, like, great, 100 text reviews. That's great. But you're not actually engaging with your audience. So, for example, this is another Shopify Plus store called Headphone Zone. They were selling at a 16% conversion rate. They had over 1,000 video-driven orders in 1 month, with over 8,000 videos watched at an average of 4 minutes and 42 seconds. So talk about an engagement and a session time. Usually the average session time on an online store is about a minute and 30 seconds. How about we 5x that? How about people now spend on your site about 5 to 6 minutes instead of just 1 minute and 30 seconds? Another great place is on your homepage, on your category pages. You should be including video about your product. And this is another brand, another Shopify Plus brand, Faces Canada. This is a beauty brand. They were converting at 10%, all of those video watchers. They had over 1,000 driven video orders, again, in 30 days with 13,000 videos watched. And we've actually added 419 hours. This is close to 420 hours of added time on site. This is cumulative watch time by users. And if you were to divide that by days, that is 17.5 days in 30 days. So imagine all of your shoppers spending 17 more days on your store. You don't have to be on Shopify Plus. I'm just seeing that from Barbara. You can be on Shopify. It works anywhere. Another great place is on blog posts. One of our strategies, you can put video anywhere and embed it anywhere as long as you're showing your product, and that video is shoppable as well. This is from a smaller brand. I think it's called Empowered by Ashley. They were converting at 5.6%, but this is just 10 days. This is not 30 days. This is just 10 days. So they put videos on their blogs, on their product pages in just 10 days. Those video shoppers were converting at 5.6. They had 221 video orders, more than 9,000 videos watched, with over $12,000 in revenue produced just from these videos alone. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool way of generating revenue in a very passive way. All of this data that I'm showing you, is based from our application. We're super data driven, and this is something that I highly recommend to everyone that's looking at this. And I think even the former presenters mentioned this, is always test, look at data, see what type of video works for you, which video converts better, which type of influencer converts better for you, and always test that content on your website or wherever you're publishing it. So that's how shoppable videos can unlock revenue, by using a very simple technique, which is placing video on your site in a way that it provides an amazing user experience. It loads fast, it loads full screen, it's adaptive, it's responsive, and it just pours the entire video experience from social media directly on your site to better answer questions about your product. Because you don't want to leave shoppers with questions when they get onto your product page. You want to make sure you answer all of those questions. And sometimes photos and text just don't do that, the product just. So you do need to incorporate video in a way that's engaging and just offers an amazing experience. And I am announcing, this official partnership with Billo. We haven't yet announced it. We've talked to their team. We have partnered up, because I think it makes perfect sense with Billo to produce the videos and VideoWise to be a distributor of these videos on your site. And I just want to let everyone know in the audience, if you're really interested in Billo, if you're really interested in VideoWise and the results that video can produce for your store, let me know. We're launching a 1 month free for all of Billo users. So if you're a Billo user, you'll get 1 month free of VideoWise. If you're not, I think you should be, because it's an amazing product and an amazing way to generate revenue for your store. But so this is VideoWise. This is Billo. Thank you so much for having us, Eimantas. I just tried to went like really fast with the entire presentation so that we leave some room for questions and answers.
And that was the most quality fast run I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. So a great couple of points to end it on. And I'm really, really thankful that you mentioned us as well in your presentation, just so organically. And yeah, we actually had a great amount of questions already. So I feel like that's the ideal time to turn to the Q&A session. And if I could just ask all of the all of our speakers to join the camera sessions right now, and we would just turn to the Q&A. Yeah, I can already see Ben. That's looking great. And the most amazing thing is I can actually, I almost have a question for every single one of you, just like almost personally from the chat. And I feel like we can start with Claudiu, and just because the presentation was just the most recent one. So we had a question of any tips on how we can add videos to the website without slowing them down. So what would be your main tips for that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a, I mean, I usually get that question asked a lot from my audience. So the best way to add videos to your site is to actually not add videos to your site. I know this sounds strange. So what you're actually adding are thumbnails, which are images, and then you place a play button on top of that. Because images load very fast, but videos stream very slow. What we're doing, for example, with VideoWise is we're optimizing even those thumbnails, even the play button, even the JavaScript that loads for that video, making it load with lazy load in parallel with the CSS. We have a package of just about like 60 kilobytes, which loads super fast. So if you want to add videos to your site in a fast way, don't add the videos, add thumbnails, and thumbnails will launch the videos. So that's the fastest way to actually load it. It's called LITE, Light Video Embedding, and it's a Shopify Plus approved method. They even mention it on their blog as the method of embedding videos on your site in a page speed friendly way.
Great. I feel like that was just like really, really concrete and right to the point. And we have one question, which is almost to everyone. I'd say it's like a pretty general one. So it sounds like, what is the key to success with your first store? I mean, it's more about the Shopify brands getting built from the ground up. So I would say, Ben, maybe you have any ideas of how you could get the success that you want from your first store?
You know, it's a great question because I'm part of, I mentioned it in a few of the chats, responding to a few questions there. I'm part of Shopify's Experts Marketplace. And with that, I think I've chatted with like 5,000 merchants or something over the course of the last 2 years or so. And all folks at different points in their journeys. In situations where, you know, you're first starting out and you're first trying to make that sale and you're a little bit lost as far as what to do, don't try to do everything. What I mean by that is within Shopify Experts Marketplace, I'll often connect with a lot of merchants that are, they're trying to sell school supplies for kids and shower accessories for women and grooming stuff for men and apparel, and like they're trying to be everywhere, and with that they're kind of nowhere. So really hone in on what are you trying to sell? What is the brand that you've created? What is the value add that you're bringing to a customer? What I find, and I don't know everybody's business for everybody that's watching the session right now. I've personally seen companies, let's say, that are doing like drop shipping and just sending out like random bits of product everywhere. They have a very, very hard time profiting, even if they can make sales. But even the drop shipping companies that do really well, they have their branding question solved. So that when people come to their site, there's intrinsic value there, and they understand that there's some sort of brand. Like, you don't have to be $1 million brand. You don't have to, spend all this money on a custom website if you're just getting started, and hire the best marketers and like do all of those things. You can do a lot with a little, but definitely be really kind of focused on the value that you're bringing to the table.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And we'll turn to Aistis if he can join us right now. Really, Aistis, if you're here, please just join us with your video. And yeah, or I can just move to another question. Has anyone? Oh, okay, we have the man right now, right here. So yeah, it's the question about scaling. So we do have a question of how we could go from a brand who's selling around 1,000 or 2,000 a month to, let's say, 10K a month. So what would be your best strategies for a relatively small brand, I would say?
Yeah. So I would just suggest to narrow it down to Facebook ads and creatives. because that's more than enough to reach 10K. Actually, like for this particular case, for this particular brand that I just talked about, maybe up to 200, 250K monthly revenue. We've just used like Facebook ads and content, and that was it. So yeah, just make sure again you understand your audience, you have the right product, then you create your content based on those two parts, and you run some traffic. So that would be it. Like, of course, you need a website, you need, email flows, you need all that. But at the end of the day, like if you have the right product, right creative, you can land people to plain like simple website, and that would be enough. So yeah, just keep your focus there. Make sure you narrow down all those parts, and yeah, you would be good to go to 10K, definitely.
Okay, thank you so much. And I feel like we have a question right now about Claudiu, and it says, what if you have an email list of, let's say, 2,000 people, but they've been inactive for 6 months? Let's just phrase the question: is it possible to still use that mailing list, or is it just a complete dead end?
I would say yes, it's possible. It depends on who those users are. Where did you get those emails from? A lot of cases, maybe a company purchased a list that they imported at one point. If that's the case, then don't do that. Suppress those users from your list as soon as possible and never email them again. If these are folks that legitimately enter your email program, either past customers that have actually made a purchase, or even folks that, let's say, if you ran a giveaway or a lead gen ad or something like that to get them opted into your marketing, there's a couple things. One, on a campaign basis, you may want to consider sending them some sort of a juicy offer, something that's really compelling, something that you don't normally put out there, in the world of your marketing. Maybe 25% off a purchase, 30% off a purchase. Have that be for a limited time only. Ultimately, the first goal is not necessarily making that sale, but getting that user to engage so that they can then funnel into one of your other segments. You can continue to retarget to them. So as long as they're opening and clicking, that's what you really want. If they buy from it, great. That's on really the campaign level. And when you're sending to a wider group of unengaged users, in this example, 2,000 is kind of on the lower end, so it's fine. But if it were, say, 20,000, we may want to consider sending like what Claudiu calls a gradual send over several hours. So something that just spaces out the number of users that are receiving emails at once, to go back to what I had kind of said in the presentation of deliverability. So if these users are, let's say, highly likely not to engage, then you want to make sure that the Googles, Yahoos, Outlooks of the world are not all of a sudden getting an influx of traffic that is an email being sent to groups of users that are unlikely to engage. You get a low open rate, and then that can harm your deliverability long term. So that's just something to keep in mind. Then also something to do on the flow side, Claudiu calls it sunsetting unengaged subscribers. It's essentially sending a flow based on a trigger of a user is unengaged. So what is unengaged? You can define that however you want. Typically, a good example is like they've been in the list at least 6 months, they've received at least 10 emails, and they have never opened anything. And once they hit that trigger, then they should receive an email similar to the campaign I mentioned, something that has a really good incentive for them. If they have any interest at all in the brand, even if they don't buy right there, they should open that email. And if they don't, over the course of, let's say, 2 or 3 subsequent messages over a week, 2 weeks, even 3 weeks or so, then on the end of that flow, have a flow action that tags that user's profile with a custom property that says unengaged equals true, or to be suppressed equals true. Claudiu doesn't have a function where you can then automatically remove them from the list, but that custom property you can use to create a segment. So a segment based on unengaged equals true, and then you can manually unsuppress users, meaning suppress in Claudiu equals unsubscribe. So you could manually unsubscribe those users if they're no longer going to be relevant for you.
Thanks. That was just like in depth already, and I feel like we'll just move to another question for Aistis. And that question sounds like it's a really, really broad topic, and we could just give a million answers to this. But let's just say, what is the minimum budget spend you would say is viable for A/B testing? Just if you were in launch, like if you were like in a bracket of around $1,000 of sales a month, what would be your optimal budget for A/B testing?
I'm not sure which A/B testing. Like, it can be a website, it can be creative on a Facebook ad account, but it depends. If it's a question regarding the website, then you definitely need like more than, I would say, 500 visitors per day, something like that, just to have that data to work with and actually A/B test properly. And yeah, like 2 weeks, something like that, website level. And then regarding the creative part, I would say overall, like these days when Facebook is getting more and more competitive, like having at least 100, $150 per day ad spend just to run through some testing, get some traction and overall data, uh, would be a point. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. And just coming back to you again for a really, really short question. Does the landing page platform make a strong difference? So for example, if people are using like templates for a landing page, right? They're not building them their own. Does the landing page platform, like the provider, influence the difference of how it performs?
Yeah, like if it's on Shopify and if you use like Shogun or like GemPages, definitely change the way people load the website, I would say. You can have like lazy load speed, something like that. I can't remember the name exactly of that feature. And it of course loads slower. So yeah, like at the first start, when you're just testing, when you're just moving around, I would say having the simple template on Shopify would be enough. Like as I already mentioned, just bring on some traffic, test out some different creatives, and if you have the right product, simple Shopify template should sell. Of course, going down the road, like 10, 50, 100K monthly revenue should be an option then. And I just see a question, Shogun or what? So Shogun or GemPages? I believe they are out of Shopify App Store for now. Not sure why.
Okay, thank you so much. I feel like somebody is trying to get that point through. So was it Shogun and the other one your suggestion was?
Yeah, GemPages already mentioned
Great,
GemPages,
yeah.
but like they are out of Shopify App Store. Not sure why.
Okay, great. I feel like most of the questions were actually answered during our session just by the presenters themselves. So Claudiu, Aistis, and Ben, do you have any further comments just to end this nicely and just to end our evening?
I'll go quickly just on my end. Number one, thank you again for organizing everything. It's been a pleasure kind of jumping on with this today. Certainly if anybody does have any kind of additional follow-up questions, I'm always happy to kind of engage with folks that were on webinars that I joined. So feel free to reach out on Twitter at Ben Zettler, LinkedIn, email me, ben@benzettler.com. Ultimately everybody's at different stages in what they're doing with with their e-commerce store. You may be just starting out, you may be a fairly mature business that's looking to refine things a little bit further, but there's always a lot of like great tools and resources that are out there to to learn from, and you guys already took the first step by doing the webinar today. So thank you, thanks everybody for joining.
I can follow up on that one. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Billo, for organizing this. And I just want to leave everyone with the power of video, I guess. And I strongly recommend that they start using it. It's a fairly new and unexplored ground. A lot of people, our major challenge is educating people they can actually do this. A lot of people still don't know. that they can use video content towards increasing their conversion and optimizing their engagement with shoppers. So highly recommend you sign up for Billo and VideoWise afterwards. So thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys. If you want to reach me out for some additional questions, feel free. You can use LinkedIn for that. We also have podcasts, by the way, 360 Scale on Spotify and YouTube. You can take your time, listen to a few episodes about scaling, about overall creatives, media buying, and all that I just covered. And yeah, till the next times.
Okay, I love that completely. And yeah, thank you so much for being here today. And it was a great time for all of us. I'm hoping that for the ones live with us too. And have a nice night.